You're listening to Parasearch Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
It's Monday evening, and you're listening to Joe and Gemma on the Supernaturelle Show.
Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to this week's episode of the Supernaturelle Show. Unfortunately, Joe can't be with us tonight, so it is just me and Kerry. Hi, Kerry.
Hello, darling. How are you?
All right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm really good.
Good bank holiday.
Very good bank holiday, thank you.
What have you been up to?
Researching. I've been up to researching. I've been researching spirits. Yeah, that's what I've been researching. What kind of
spirits have you been researching?
Quite a few different ones. Shall we say I've sampled the spirit.
Are they elementals?
There was afterwards.
And, of course, what we mean is Kerry's been to the pub, everyone.
Quite a lot this weekend, everybody. Quite a lot this weekend. But it's been a hell of a fun weekend, is all I'm saying.
In all fairness, it's good to let your hair down from time to time, right?
Certainly has, yeah. It's needed. Yeah, it's needed.
I'm not going to lie. I woke up Saturday morning after the secret drinking game on the Dark Mirror show with the mighty hangover.
Yeah, that was quite a fun one, wasn't it?
I think we should do that on more shows. I think we should have like a secret code word, and when we hear it, we have to have a drink.
The problem is like, because I was aware of said situation going on in the background, I was nothing to do with it. I would just like to point that out.
Kerry didn't instigate the whole secret chat group at all.
I didn't instigate that in any way, shape or form. And because like, obviously,
in all fairness, a credit to you though, you was egged along a bit.
There was egging.
There was, yeah.
That sounds so wrong, doesn't it?
It was a bit, yeah.
But no, it's just a little bit fun because it's the fun and frolics on a Friday, isn't it? You know, it is the fun and frolics on a Friday. Although it's serious and we put out a lot of information in that show, we also have a lot of fun with it because I think that's really important too. Because you know,
not everything can be serious all the time, eh?
No, but as I say, we always really do research the show and have a lot of fun with it. So we do pick topics that, you know, you can have a little bit of fun with, or it'll create a debate between the three of us, or, you know, something that gets it, gets the show going into a more fun...
Oh, I think it definitely gets it going.
It certainly does get it going. The problem is, because I'm on the show and I know what the words are, or the drinking words, like, triggers are... I can get you lot rammed.
Well, it definitely worked. I think we got through a couple of bottles of red, to say the least. And like I say, Saturday morning, I was a bit like, ouch. Yeah. So the thought of drinking anymore this weekend is definitely not enters my head. It's got to be said. I was done. It was man down over here.
Meanwhile, I was up at the crack of dawn and off to the theatre on Saturday. And it started again.
What did you go see?
I went to see Evita.
Very nice.
Which actually was really funny because I've seen Evita a couple of times before this one. And it's one of my... I do love an Andrew Lloyd Webber. I'm not going to lie. I do love an Andrew Lloyd Webber. So anyway, it was
Can't be a bit of Andrew.
I know, right? So we went to see it, and the company did a really good job of it, considering it's a really, really hard musical to sing. And what the director had actually done was put a few things in there which weren't actually part of like what you would see on the West End. It kind of explained it a little bit. And then right at the end, on the, you know, like when they're doing like the requiem and the death scene at the end, the narrator comes on and actually says that her body disappeared for 70 years. after she passed, they'd actually raised a lot of money to build a crypt, like a proper mausoleum for her. But only the plinth got made as her body disappeared for this amount of time. And I was like, oh, like when your ears prick up, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And that, although it's nothing paranormal, this isn't paranormal at all, actually. But it was just like one of those, I didn't know that. I need to find out more about that kind of moments. Do you know what I mean? So I've gone away and I've done like in the pub afterwards. It's going to be a common theme. It's going to be a common thing. It's like we're all sitting there Googling like what happened to Eva Peron's body and, like the political landscape behind it and, what happened to Joan Peron and all that sort of thing. So like the post story of Evita, effectively. Yeah. And it was fascinating. I mean, she is actually now buried in Buenos Aires. But she spent some time actually buried in Italy and actually further time buried in Spain. So have body will travel.
So she gets about a bit.
She certainly, she did. And there's been a whole, because she was embalmed at the point of death, her body should have been very well preserved. But when they brought her back to Buenos Aires, I can never say that properly. I know it's like...
It's all right, it's fine.
I'm going to gloss that. So... When they brought her back, they wanted to, basically look at her body and make it so it's viewable again for the public. Re-look at it. And she actually had injuries sustained after death and stuff like that on her body. And her feet were mangled because she was put in a too small a coffin. But facts like that, it's really weird. Find them fascinating.
You see, this is similar to, what should have been a blog that I've started writing recently, because that's all about what happens at point of death and after death.
Which you have a hell of a lot of experience with.
Oh, massive. 11 years worth. You're not going to get much more experience with that. And I specialised in end-of-life care alongside dementia care. So it would be me that was 9 times out of 10 with the person as they passed away. So that was what made me think about writing this blog. That's definitely not going to be a blog because it's far too big to be a blog.
Which is why when I said her thesis for her PhD, it makes sense.
I know, right? What is that all about? Absolutely no pressure there then. What if I write it and it's all a load of mumble jumble?
But it won't be, because you're speaking firstly from experience and also knowledge as well, because you're constantly reading and you're constantly pushing your boundaries and your barriers in regards to theories and, the scientific side of things and stuff like that. So it's not going to be a piece of cake, because it's not just going to be, well, on one night when this person passed, this happened.
One time at van camp.
Exactly, right. It's not going to be like that, because you're going to take examples and then move on from that and go, right, okay, so what was that? What were the mechanics at play in that? And how can I look at that? Because that's where you're starting to go with your journey now. You're moving away from just accepting the point of phenomena and actually going, okay, well, that was interesting. So what are the theories? What are the possibilities that could be?
And that is exactly that. I mean, how many times have we had a conversation about the paranormal, and how many times have I said, my favourite question is why? Just why? But why?
But that is the difference between just, it's okay having an interest in the paranormal and going out on ghost hunts and stuff like that. The why pushes you on. Well, why did that happen? Why is my equipment working in that way? And then you start, we call, and I know Paul Rook hates this term, it's the rabbit hole. Right?
Yes.
But if you actually start going into a rabbit hole and you start digging, and then you find a thought pattern, then you follow that thought pattern that leads you off on a tangent, that leads you around a circle and then brings it back to the rabbit hole that you're in the first place. And this is what it's
and
like.
Who started me off going down rabbit holes?
Well, I have no idea, Gemma. Who on earth was that?
Should we do 50-50 phone a friend? Well, actually, there's one sat in front of me and there's the other one sat on the sofa in front of me, so,
I'm not guilty, sir. My lord, should that be. Not guilty, my lord. But it's
I'm detecting something.
No, I'm not taking that, Ashley. All I'm saying, I'm putting it firmly on your shoulders. No, it's
I think not. I think that was a dual effort, in all fairness.
no, only because of, like, so when you come to Parasearch, when you came to Parasearch, should I say, it became very, this is what I do in the field, and this, and you already had a huge knowledge base there on your own. And then you get into conversations with other people and different ways of working and stuff like that, because everybody's show is very different. So you talk to Penny and you get the history. You talk to Paul and he loves his conspiracies and he loves his, he likes something a little bit different to just ghosts and spirits.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You talk to Mark and he ufology all the way, and the precursors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He adores. Carl, he knows his tech, but he's also, spreading his wings and knows more than he talks about. So you've got the tech thing there. Sam, bless her, she's like coming from the ghost hunting community, so there's something there that you've got a common base in. But you also had your own knowledge from that point, right? So you then start expanding. And when you start expanding, you either don't want to and you stop because you're quite happy with your little life and how it's going, or it pushes you further. So, yeah, that's why I'm going to go with that. So,
But don't you think you have to be prepared to come out of your rabbit hole? You have to be prepared to go look deeper into things and question the why. I think if you're just going to accept that every noise that you hear is paranormal, then how on earth do you expect the paranormal field to progress? But anyway,
I don't disagree.
You're leading me on a little bit here because this wasn't where I was going to go.
Oh, sorry.
But you took me off on a bit of a tangent there. Naughty monkey. So going back to it's because you automatically go into interviewer mode. Well, not today, Missy. Let me tell you. Rein it in, girl. Rein it in. So back to encouraging people, and I think, I know it's safe to say because I've read it today alone. Sarah Chimacero, you did an interview with Sarah, and you are the first of the second season.
Yeah.
And she says in her blog today that she was actually in awe of the knowledge that you've got.
I wouldn't go that far. Oh God, what do you say to that? I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
Thank you. Won't go amiss.
Well, yeah, but also there's like a huge amount of embarrassment there. Like it felt like a term she'd used that was just like not accurate.
Yeah, but that's not true, and I think everybody's guilty of that to a certain extent. I think you try and brush over your own strengths, if you will.
Thank you.
That was just swiftly moving on, if ever I've ever.
It's very difficult to look at yourself. I think this is a human thing. I think sometimes
I think Sarah was actually honoured to be invited onto your show, because I'm sure I read that you was the first interview.
Yeah.
You was the first person to interview Sarah.
Yeah.
So, for her, that must have been massive.
Well, to be fair, she came up on my news feed on Facebook, and this is, this is one of the reasons I love the socials, because this is where you get a lot of inspiration from. You find people that you wouldn't necessarily find. It must have been shared by somebody else. I can't remember exactly how that occurred, but I read one of her blogs, and when you, and this sounds like I'm blowing my own trumpet. I'm quite good at spotting talent. I'm Simon Cowell, everybody.
Pull your trousers down a bit, woman,
right, yeah.
and tuck that white shirt out.
Or
tuck it out.
Or seeing the potential, or seeing the best and what they can achieve in them. And I like to help people do that. So when I read Sarah's blog, she was doing quite well in her own little world where she was. I'm not being funny. She didn't need Kerry Greenaway. I didn't discover her or anything like that. But it was something I wanted to bring to the UK audience more. And I just like reading her blogs, even now. I mean, like, how many years ago was that now? What, 2-3 years ago when I interviewed Sarah? She was so nervous. I remember her being so nervous. And I was like, why are you nervous? We're going to be talking about stuff you've written. This is stuff you know. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to like throw a curveball at you and ask you something like really bad. Yeah. I've read your blogs. I've researched you, so I know where you're at. You know what I mean? She was so nervous. And I just love watching, you know, I've had nothing to do with her journey. That's her own journey. Do you know what I mean? I interviewed her once. She's become a Parasearch favourite person because she's so knowledgeable and she's just amazing at what she does. And, you know, it's just brilliant to watch or read her blogs and see where she's going. And then when she asked to interview me, I was like, you actually want to interview me? We're like, what? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those
weird... that role reversal, isn't it?
I know. And she sends me the questions and I'm like, oh, I've got to think.
How do I answer that?
Because it's actually about you. And like when she says like, you know, so what did you do this for? Why did you do that? And you're like, yeah, why do I do this?
yeah. Not entirely sure.
Yeah. So,
can we ask someone else?
Exactly. Can I like ask somebody else to fill this out for me?
And I'll send it to a friend.
Yeah. That's weird. But you, like I said, so anyway, what would you do if she sent you those questions?
This isn't about me. I'm interviewing you.
Oh, nice comeback. I told you a show would go like this. Oh,
no. In all honesty, I wouldn't be able to answer them. I wouldn't. So I totally get where you're coming from, but obviously because you are the first person, that's a huge honour to be the first person of season 2. And as you say, you know, Sarah, in her own right, she is one clever little bunny. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's got that knowledge. And the way she writes is phenomenal.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I've interviewed that lady. I've spoken to her at length, as you know, because you was there. You know, I think that's just, I don't know, I'm proud of you. Oh, let's hear high five that one, look. Let's hear high five it.
High fiving it. Thank you. Careful, I might go into my Gwyneth Paltrow. You know, no one wants that.
No, it's not the end of the year yet, Kerry.
I'm building up to it already. But
no, that is a huge honour.
Yeah, and people
and
like that.
Sarah said in there, like, you don't get enough recognition for the work that you do, and I think that's true. But that's nothing that I haven't already said 1,000 times before.
Yeah, but I don't judge it on recognition. I'm just doing it for me. I'm doing it for my personal interest and journey. It's my hobby, you know, and I do love what I do. So, is it recognition you're after?
But that's, I mean, one of the questions in that blog was pretty much, what are you after, wasn't it? What do you want out of the field?
Yeah, that's a difficult one to answer. What do you want out of the field? I mean, do I want fame and fortune? Well, let's be fair. No, you're not going to get that right. 99% of people are not going to get it. Yeah.
Not keeping...
Sorry. We have to give a nod to the supernatural synchronicity post that we're banging back and forth between Sarah and Ashley, because, you know, that was an awesome series, Ashley. Oh. And we're hoping that there's more to come from that as well.
But again, this is all about you. Oh, tonight, this is your life. Let me grab that red book. So you answered Sarah's question.
Yes. Yes.
With integrity.
Yes. It's an important part of being a person, is having credibility and integrity. Credibility in the fact that people can trust what they say in regards to if they read my work or listen to my work, that they learn something and it's accurate. And integrity is that I maintained composure through some of the shitstorms that happen in the paranormal community, that I didn't get involved in the crap, that, you know, my integrity is that's just a basic human concept, I think, surely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but a lot of people can lose the credibility without even meaning to.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it isn't necessarily their fault either.
No.
And yes, Paul, I know she did swear, but since she's co-owner, we can't really tell her off for it, so we'll just swiftly move on from that. But a lot of people do lose their credibility, and it's not always their own fault. Sometimes it can be the way that these TV shows are produced.
Yeah. I get that. But then I think you have to understand the whole concept of the TV thing. You know what I mean?
That's exactly where I was just going to go.
Yeah, you have to look at the concept of TV. You're not in control of that. That's down to the editors and the production assistants and the people that do the cutting and pasting of the footage that you've taken. And although you can put forward a concept or pitch a particular idea, you're not in control of how that translates into a piece of footage, and that is actually, the problem with TV. Mm-hmm. That's not the people that are involved in the TV. That's the problem with the television and what they want to put out, because they're driven by viewing figures, which leads to advertising ratings. And that is their focus, is earning enough money for the station, putting out content that people are going to watch, which increases the advertising or the watcher figures, that gives you the advertisers clamoring at your door to want to advertise. And that's a business. It's not about... It's putting out content that people are going to watch. So it drives sales of advertising. That is the whole point of TV.
So is paranormal TV shows going to move or progress the paranormal field in any way, shape or form?
I actually think we're right at the beginning of a reinvention.
Elaborate.
Okay, so there was a huge thing, and you mentioned it last week when you was talking to MJ, which was the Helia. That was completely funded by themselves, and they put it out on YouTube. And the views on that, and this is actually where the new concepts will start coming through, because executives in the TV companies are not watching anything other than the socials at the moment, and they're looking to see where audiences are. And they saw that this program, this little well-produced docu investigation, we'll go with, was put out a DocuVest. Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, the DocuVest. Yeah, that's what we're going with.
Oh, I love that. And the viewing figures on that and the interest as well, it trended everywhere, right? And it was something different. It was a breath of fresh air. Now, coming off the back of that, you're starting to see new shows come through. We've had a new one in regards to Paranormal Captured, and that's a different format to the rest of it. But we're also going into something new. We had a sneaky peek. Yes, we did. A possibility that's coming. We don't know any details on that because no details were given. There's my disclaimer right there. And but if it's starting to be produced by people that know their stuff in the paranormal, people like MJ, people like Jane Harris, do you know what I mean? People like that. Look at the work Jane Harris has done. She produced her own documentary, Who Put Belle in the Witch Elm. Yeah. You know, that was absolutely awesome. And when you've got people like that starting to step into the fore, rather than someone like, and I wonder if you can guess who I'm talking about, who was somebody who was behind the scenes, looked pretty, and then got into the front of the camera kind of people. Ten out of 10 for anybody who can get it.
But chat room, help us out here. Right, give us a clue. We'll play a bit of charades or something.
#demon.
Oh, them guys.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost Adventures. Them guys. Them guys.
I mean, that's
I know, right?
In a nutshell, that's pretty much how Zach got into it. I mean, since then he's gone on, he's learnt a lot, and he obviously likes the topic himself, and blah blah blah. You know, there's a whole backstory to Zach.
Well, it says so in the title, right?
Yeah, right. You know, but there's a whole backstory to that we don't really get told about because he's got this public image. But at the end of the day, that's what those kind of shows and Most Haunted, do you know what I mean? All of those, Fred.
I'm so sorry, that was so rude. Mr. Paul Brook in the chat room making me laugh.
Oh, don't make me laugh, I'll start coughing. And yeah, so, you know, I think when you start getting these new people coming through who know the stuff and been in the field for like years and years and years, when they start bringing different concepts and the production company starts seeing that they work, that they're still going to get the viewing figures and they're still going to get the advertising and stuff like that, then I think we'll start seeing a reinvention. That would be fantastic. I think for the community in general who are out there doing it day in, day out and have knowledge, it's frustrating watching those kind of programs.
Extremely.
You know, but there's a whole other audience that literally watch it just for the thrill factor and don't want to know any more than a vet going, did you hear that? You know what I mean? So I'm not going to knock those programs because a lot of us entered the field because of those programs.
Quite rightly so. I worked with those who shall never be named.
Exactly.
I fell for that too, you know, and I would like to say I am actually quite intelligent, really. Just because I come across like a numpty doesn't mean I am.
But you start at a point. That was your starting point.
Exactly. Everybody has a starting point. Paul Rook, can you please leave the chat room? Everybody has a starting point, and some people do not want to progress further than that. They're happy with their belief system.
Yes.
Which brings us on quite nicely, actually.
Oh, very well. I love it. Love it.
Did you see that?
Done.
Did you like that?
Oh, well done,
all
Gemma.
right,
I'm going to give you a little high five on that. Hey.
Learn from the master. Which brings us on to our next point. Something that you've just recently started to share, which is your blogs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that knowledge, like we've spoke for months and months and months. How I dread to think how many hours we've spent on Skype discussing, chatting away, throwing ideas around, throwing theories around, having a giggle.
Mm-hmm.
But that knowledge never seemed to go anywhere. You didn't put it on paper, so to speak.
No.
Whereas recently, you've thrown yourself into that shark pit.
I love it, shark pit.
I know, right? Dramatic.
So it was quite a dramatic moment, I will say that, to actually sit down and go, right, okay, so I've got time at the moment, and let's start doing something. I mean, you know, other than radio, something different. I don't know. It just, I had time. I think that's what
I had time.
Yeah, I had some time, and it was time to find my feet, my personal feet, and start building my credibility more than just being radio.
Not that you didn't put any information out there, because I don't think people quite believe the amount of research that you put behind your shows. Like, you do go in depth, even if a lot of that doesn't get seen by the general Joe blogs. You still put a lot of work into researching shows from beginning to end.
Yeah, I do like to know the topic. I do, well, you know, as much as you can. I mean, this week I think I'm doing 4 shows, but 3. Yeah, 4. God.
3, maybe 4. We'll go with that.
4 shows this week. But no, it's... I like to know what I'm talking about. I don't like to come on air and not know a good understanding. I'm not going to say like an expert understanding, because that's ridiculous. You're never going to do an expert understanding in a short time, particularly when you're rolling week to week. And, you know, when you think at one point I was doing 4 shows a week and you're researching for every single show, and, you know, some topics you know anyway, but there are plenty of topics out there that I have a general understanding, but not a good understanding. And I like to have a good understanding, so...
You'd definitely like to cover all bases, shall we say?
I do try to. I do try to. I go off topic a lot though when I research. This is a factor I have got to.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do that. So I do have to catch myself and go, no, we're not supposed to be looking at this. You're supposed to be looking at this. And getting it down. I mean, at the moment, I'm starting to write a list every time I get an idea, because if I get an idea in the middle of researching something, I'll tend to go, oh, I've got to go off and no, I've got to finish this one first. And I'm starting to do that more. Believe it or not, I'm maturing.
Ooh. You and me both. How did that happen?
Oh, I have no idea. So I've got a pad now. I write an idea down, and so it's a growing list at the moment. And I mean, I was in a conversation last night, and about 20 ideas came out of that. And it's
never ending, though, isn't it? Once you start. But I mean, wasn't your first blog the stone tape?
It was about
was
one
that
aspect.
The first one?
Yeah, it was about one aspect that I'd seen it on the socials, and it was a blog somebody had put up about water, and I was like, yes, I think water. I think even not think, because I keep going Essex at the moment, which is not a good trait. I think that water.
Shut up.
I know, right? I do think water has a relevance. However, the concept was that it was all down to the water within the rock element of a building. And, you know, like when you read something and you think, there's a fundamental flaw there.
But this is what you was outlining in your blog, isn't it?
Yeah, which is why I wanted to address it, because, again, people take things at face value. The guy, Emoto Masuro, however you say his last name, everyone looked at him. They take the research and then they just go, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. But actually they don't look at the work he did to get to the point of that. They've literally just gone, oh, he says this, so that must be what it is. But let's not look at the backstory to that. You know, the same with the homeopathy guy, Bienvesti, or whatever his name is.
I'm just letting you say these names because I know I ain't got cat and else chance of getting them out.
He worked in immunology and was actually doing water, and that, you know, something to do with water and how that translates and whether or not that would have an effect and stuff like that. So he's actually coming from a medical background, but the homeopathy industry took hold of that. But when you start really looking at the testing and the experimentation that went on, both of those are incredibly flawed, and it's not conclusive proof. But people were looking at that as conclusive proof and running forward with a theory. So I just wanted to basically put that out there. That,
well,
you know,
it was like the two worlds colliding, wasn't it? If you like, if we put it that way. So the scientific community was like, well, hang on a minute. There's flaws with the experiment, and water cannot hold memory, and boiling, adding to that boiling points, etc. And you've got so many different variables there alone. But yet the paranormal world was like, ooh, what have we got here then?
Yeah. Well,
and then along comes Kerry, and it's like, well,
actually came out of like the spiritual side of things, the woo-woo side of things, the homeopathy side of things. So people have gone, God, water holds memory. That's why homeopathy works. That's why it has its relevance. But kind of not proved, everybody. You know, there are loads and millions of people out there using homeopathy remedies and saying that it's worked for them. But has it, or is it the belief in it that's created it?
I was just going to say that. Is that belief system? But we was having this conversation the other night too. Yeah. Similar sort of conversation on one of the other radio shows, because I was in the chat room.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and it was again, how much of what we experience is due to our belief system.
Yeah, and I think that's an incredible part of it that you have to look at, because what people experience, first of all, their personal experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Secondly, you can't prove those.
No.
Secondly, things that people are witnessing are, and I spoke about this the other day, cause and effect.
Yep.
Right, so they're witnessing the effect, or what they believe to be the effect. So you hear a bang in the night, you're out looking for ghosts, you hear a bang in the night, it's got to be a ghost,
must be a ghost, right?
Yeah, exactly. You get a peak in your EMF meter. This is something actually that Ash has addressed a little bit in his blog, the microwave blog, isn't it? Got to bring the microwave blog up.
Do you know what? I love that. I love that microwave blog. Mm-hmm. It's hilarious.
All I'm saying is nice.
I mean, in all fairness, in all fairness, that microwave's got a backstory, right?
I'm sure it has. But it's a concept that, so you go into EMF, right? You get a spike in your EMF. Your belief is that your K2 meter spikes if there's a spirit interfacting with the electromagnetic fields, which is why your EMF is getting a spike. Right, so it's that belief.
But, hang on, let's go back to that. Where has it been proven that a spirit manifestation causes an increase in EMF?
Well, it hasn't, as far as I'm aware.
No, me neither. If anybody in the chat room has any evidence,
proof.
Yeah, if anybody's got any proof of that, by all means, drop it into the chat room, because as far as I'm aware, and as far as Kerry, you've just said you're not necessarily aware of anything, that it is not proven that a spike in MFE, I'm changing it now to MFE, EMF, is due to manifestation. Just
exactly.
Like your blog brings you back to the original question, does water hold memory?
Before you can run with the theory that that's what it is, you have to break it down to the fundamental. And that's exactly what it's right. And that's exactly what it's about. It's breaking it down to the fundamental. I don't know. I can't sit here and I haven't got a lab where I can get water samples and do it as a scientific experiment. You know what I mean? And
Are you kidding?
I know. I know everyone seems to think I do, but I don't.
Damn it.
I leave that to the proper scientists out there. But it is a fascinating concept, because if it did, let's just look at that facet. If water does hold memory, that's awesome. That's actually a fantastic thing. If we can prove that a spirit can affect electromagnetic fields, that would be absolutely incredible. But we can't at this point in time. And I have a belief in the spirit world. That's my belief system. I believe there are spirits out there. I believe there are also other forms of entity out there. I have lots of different belief systems in place, but I'm aware of them, and I'm aware of where they've come from, and I'm aware of the personal validation I've had from spirit at times. It doesn't mean I can prove that.
No.
I can say this happened,
and that's the difficult
happened.
bit.
So what you're seeing is the effect. You're not seeing the mechanics that actually create that. And that's the bit where every theory falls down. Until you can prove the mechanics that are happening behind it, you can't say it's a definitive proof that water holds memory or spirit affect EMF fields. That's where I sit with it. And I do have a spiritual belief system in place. I'm fully aware of that.
But then again, you've addressed this too, haven't you? You've addressed this whole subject in another blog that was a two-parter. We got a two-parter, Kerry.
Yeah, that was a little bit like your life after life thing that's going on with you at the moment. Is that it starts and you for a blog you kind of don't want to overwhelm. So I broke it into two parts. I mean, to be fair, that's probably going to go on again. There's probably going to be a part 3, 4, 5, and 6 on that one.
Well, there's still plenty more to examine in that, isn't there? But are we creating paranormal activity?
I believe it's a huge part of it.
What do you think? Of course it is.
A huge part of it.
I think it is. I think you're right.
In all honesty,
I completely agree. I mean, I read that. I read the first part of the blog. And was like, but you can't leave it there.
Oh, that's not.
But we're not done. We're not done. And then the second bit came out, and I was like, oh, thank God for that. She's not going to leave it there.
No, and it still won't be left there, because I tell you, the reason why is because because of my own personal belief system and the way I work in regards to my spiritual work, I know when I'm doing a specific ritual, it's a creation from myself. Now, that entity has it's a little bit of me within the entity, and a little bit of the entity is within me. It's a duality thing. It's not a single thing. I am not calling on, say, the idol, let's just throw a name out there, Morrigan. I'm not conjuring Morrigan as a spirit in her own right. There's part of me in her and part of her in me. And that is occult working. That is that belief, and you're creating that. That's your manifestation, your intention towards it. You are in control of that. So even with work like that, it comes down to yourself. When you talk manifestation on a lot more lighter level, when you just talk about everyday manifestation and intentional rituals, you're the one who's driving that. So even on a spiritual level, it's not saying I am channeling. So this is a rabbit hole that I'm down at the moment. You are channeling spirit to do it for you. You are commanding them. You are manifesting that. Your intention is driving that forward. You start from a very, very basic process and you build that up and into the ritual that you end up with when you're working in that way. There are differences in how you work spiritually. I mean, I was looking at healing the other day and I went back to the beginning of when I started my spiritual journey. I'm going to go off on a ramble now. Pull me back to topic.
Right, let it out.
I was talking about healing. And when I very first started this and started connecting with spirit, I turned around and I said to my guides, there is absolutely no way I want to be a platform medium. Yeah. My anxiety goes off the roof when I'm in front of a group of people. And I know that sounds really weird, guys, but this is not in front of a group of people. This is just me and Gemma talking, right?
Yeah, because we're totally alone. There's nobody in the chat room. There's nobody going to listen back to it. We're totally alone, just having a chinwag, right?
But get me in front of a group of people, I am off the scale with anxiety, right? So I don't want to be a platform medium. That's not how I want to work. There's plenty of people doing an absolutely amazing job in that way. That's not what I want to do. And the second one was healing, physical healing. Now, bearing in mind, crystals and minerals is where I come from. A lot of the traffic driven through from that is from the healer community because, healing crystals and all that, everybody. So, and I didn't want to do that either. So I was like, those are the two areas. The reason I didn't want to go into physical healing is because I'd seen too many people in healers, too many healers actually end up with very serious physical conditions themselves. And that started me thinking, and this is a recent thought pattern, that the belief is you're channeling universal energy through to do the healing, right? But I thought, well, what if it isn't? What if it's actually, it's coming from us?
So sorry, everybody, for that dramatic pause there. Paul Brook has literally just popped into the chat room with, Kerry, your feet are on the end of your legs. You could have asked me where they were and you would have needed to find them. So I'm so sorry that me and Kerry just went really quiet there, but we was trying not to laugh.
I can let it out.
I know, right? This chat room I've had to stop looking at the chat room because I just wanted to start laughing. So everybody in the chat room, thanks for that.
And behave yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, first we're picking up on sharks, then rabbits, now sharks again, then Kerry don't know where her feet are. Oh my God, what is this world coming to? So back to it, Kerry. We've laughed, we've let it out. We can go back to it now.
Whew, composure.
I know, right? We was doing so well as well.
We were doing really well up to that point. We sounded quite intelligent at one point as well, weren't we?
I'm so sorry. So sorry. That was so unprofessional. I could see you about to laugh and I was like, please don't laugh because you're going to start me off and I'm not keeping it together sat here, so stop. So anyway, where was we?
Healing belief systems, is it coming from them and not actually from the universal energy, which is what their belief system is?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think maybe it's wise if I don't look at the chat room anymore.
Maybe it's a good idea.
But again, it's belief system, isn't it?
Is it down to belief system? Their belief is actually it's coming from the universe and they're a conduit. Or is it not actually coming from the universe? It's actually coming from them draining their own personal energy. And that's why they end up with such,
I was just
horrible
say,
health
is
conditions.
that why they end up so poorly? I mean,
Exactly.
if we go back to Amanda Sparrow-Large,
Oh, yeah,
300-year-old pirate.
exactly.
Lady.
Look at what happened she had there.
Exactly. Look at the illnesses, and bless her heart, she weren't shy about discussing them either. But because she had an intimate relationship with spirit,
She believed she had an intimate relationship with the spirit.
she ended up with some, well, quite serious health problems. But again, was that manifested from within? So it brings us back to that question, back to your blog. Are we the cause?
Yeah, I do think the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm starting to think that is the case. But I do have a belief system in spirit. I've seen that. But it's like, I was thinking about this earlier. See, this is a rabbit hole, so many different angles. I was thinking about God. Strange one, right?
Okay, well, let's roll with it. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got thousands and thousands of people believing in God and Jesus Christ and all that sort of thing, right? And again, they will see God. They won't see him. They won't see him pop down on a cloud and smite his finger.
Just pop down. Just use a little cloud like an elevator.
But
Ground floor, please.
And then we go into the whole ufology world. What they see is the effect. They see it because their belief system shows it to them. They see miracles in everyday life. They see, their faith is reaffirmed through things that happen to them. And that's because their belief system is in a higher power guiding things, God. So even in religion, you've got that belief system at work that's actually colouring their everyday life in what they are getting out of their life. So, yeah, I'm not even going to use what they're talking about in the chat room.
No,
but,
let's not.
Stop looking at the chat room. Let's just stop it. And so that's where I was thinking today. That's colouring their day-to-day life. They're seeing miracles. They're seeing things that affirm their faith. They're seeing, that's how their life is coloured because of that belief, that faith in God. Mm-hmm. And whether that's, that's something that they're worshipping, that they're putting investment into on a regular occasion.
And it's that belief system that gets them through everyday life.
Exactly. And you have to be, in my opinion, if you're going to go into this field, you have to be aware of your own belief systems with this.
And other people's.
That's not your business. That's their business.
No, but in order to understand the paranormal, well, maybe not the belief system, but have a bit of knowledge on belief systems. If you're going to come into the paranormal field, with every religion comes a different belief structure.
That's very true. I think if you was investigating a private case, then you want to examine the belief systems behind it. But if you're just going out on a ghost hunt, then your belief systems are what's relevant in that case.
Yeah.
There is that difference. I mean, if you're investigating a private case and it's important, you're helping or trying to help somebody, it's important to understand their belief systems and where they're coming from. But for yourself, going out ghost hunting or investigating or whatever it is you do on a Friday or a Saturday night, then you have to be aware of your own belief systems because that... And I think when I address like the Phillips experiment and the skull experiment, you look at those two. If you looked at the belief systems behind it, is that then manifested in the effect of what they're doing or what they achieved?
And especially when you go to the skull experiment, if you have a look at what they did achieve,
it's amazing,
phenomenal. But look at the evidence that they captured. Does it not sound like religious beliefs too?
There is huge crossovers on every side. This is the one thing with the paranormal, though, isn't it? Is that it all interlinks. You can look at ufology that can bring religion into it, and then you start looking at that, and then you start looking at actually the evolution of man because that's relevant, right? In that to prove, if you're looking for proof, which is different from evidence, Yeah, some people would say if you've got enough evidence stacked up, then that's proof.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing like definitive proof.
Exactly.
And so
I
you
mean,
start looking into different things.
we've all had some form of personal experience, because that's what kept us coming back time and time again, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So we've all had that, but the definitive proof is still missing.
So you have to have a suspended belief. Do you know what I mean? You suspend all other thoughts in regards to logics and reasons, and you suspend that to back up your belief system. So like when I read tarot cards, I'm like, well, logically, it's just a playing card. It's just a piece of cardboard with symbology on it, and I'm reading that card. My belief system is different from that. I believe that there's a link. It opens up a link to me. I always work with a tool when I work spiritually, and that is my link. That is where I get it. Other people don't need a tool. They can just go and link in like that. But that's my belief system, that's what happens. And that's where the information is coming from, that I am then able to translate through a tarot reading. That's bottom line is that's my belief. You know, fundamentally, a complete cynic would turn around and say, it's a deck of cards, and you know the meaning of the card, you know the meaning of symbology, and you're making a story around that. And that just happens to be, it could be very general and relevant to a lot of people, that reading.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Completely agree. Yeah, completely agree. But then I also know you as a person, and I know that you can fluctuate between your belief system and turn into researcher, where
that's
your
being
beliefs are
self-aware.
irrelevant.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people are self-aware.
No, but I think if you, I think that's again probably a side to the spiritual side, is actually about inner work, doing the inner work, and looking at yourself and seeing what you could have done differently, and the flaws within yourself, and embracing your shadow self as much as you embrace the positive within yourself, and examining yourself. And that takes a lot of self-honesty, and then you can start being aware, self-aware of why you've acted in the way you've acted. And that takes a fundamental level of honesty, and that's internal honesty, and it's not pretty. There are times where it's not pretty, and you have to accept that there are emotional drives that you may not want to embrace, and it comes from past experience, and it comes from something that could have happened when you was 3 years of age that you've blocked, but it's actually more fundamental. There's a lot to it. But that is actually quite a lot of work that people do. Mindfulness, it's an internal process that people go through. Some people go through.
Yeah, because not everybody goes through it, right?
Exactly. Or
not
they
everybody
do, but
wants
they're not honest
to.
with themselves. Yeah, and not everybody wants to, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine too. But because I have been through that process, I think that's how come I can recognize that, trying to put it to one side, or switch between spiritual and then go into researching and stuff like that. But I've actually found that quite helpful at times, like when I've done like a meditation and I've got information through from wherever that be, whether that be the recesses of my mind, or whether that be from an external source, because I don't know where it comes from, I can't answer that question, is you then research it. That's where I then go, oh, right, okay, I got that in a meditation. Let me research that. And that's when it becomes really interesting, because you either go, oh, it makes no sense, or where the hell did that come from? Do you know what I mean? And, that's what makes that interesting. But that keeps my interest in it. Because I can't just be all woo-woo. I can't just be, it just is. Do you know what I mean? It just is. That's how it is. I can't do that. That's never been part of who I am. I have to dig deeper. And if I get like a symbol or something that's said to me in a meditation, I kind of want to know more. I want to know more.
Yeah.
And like I did a meditation, and I now know what it was. But at the time, when I came out of it, I was like, what the hell was that all about? Yeah. But then I've researched it, and I've looked into the different concepts that came out from that, and cross-referenced it and looked at it, and actually now to me it makes sense. At the time when I came out of the meditation, wrote it all down, I didn't have a bloody clue what it was about, but now I do. And that is part of that internal process, that internal working, that knowledge, that research, that pushing forward all the time.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you have to push. You have to. This Mr. Paul Rook is being very naughty in the chat room tonight. Honestly, so I think you have to. I think you have to push yourself. You have to question the whys, the hows, the what ifs. I think without that, don't think you're going to be able to progress in yourself or within the field. But we've got 5 minutes left. That has gone so quick. Yeah. But what's next, Kerry? Kerry, what is next for you?
I'm still obviously working through the belief system thing. That's, I say, an ongoing. That's part of the writing side of it that I'm doing. And I'm down a rabbit hole at the moment on, believe it or not, demons. #demons. I'm breaking down the myths and legends surrounding demons at the moment.
Well, in all fairness, I think somebody needs to. Yeah. Because I'm not being funny, but everything's a demon, right?
It seems to be at the moment. And so that's an area I'm going to be addressing soon. And I'm finding, again, it's one of those where you start with a blog and then it's not a blog, it's a full-blown
It's amazing
article.
How this happens.
Yeah. So I'm sort of like trying to focus the blog, as it were, to move forward with that. So, yeah, that's actually what I'm working on at the moment is the demon thing, because that's an area that really, really needs to be broken down and understood better, in my personal opinion, anyway.
Because a lot of people get it from the movies, from the TV.
Yeah.
And it becomes hysteria.
Yeah. And it's like these big, bad entities that are going to come and suck your soul and stuff like that. And you can make a pact with the devil. And actually this ties into the Witchfinder General that I've been researching recently. So I'm kind of like addressing things like this at the moment. And yeah, so yeah, anyway, like I say, big rabbit hole.
Well, it sounds fascinating and I cannot wait to read it.
Yeah. And this actually started just from reading a book. This #demon, that led me down whole different thought patterns, even into the God one. And it's just...
But not a lot of people do actually read these days. I was having this conversation recently, and a lot, not that I'm saying people are lazy, but basically a lot of people are lazy and a lot of people don't want to read anymore. They want somebody to read to them with visuals, you know? Seriously, pick up a book. There is so much information that's just not being taken in because people can't be bothered or don't have enough time.
Yeah, I mean, today's society is a lot more faster paced than it's ever been before. And there are a lot more external pressures on people, but there is also a hell of a lot of crap that's being fed via the television, and it is mind-numbing. And people, turn off the reality TV. Just turn the TV off. Just turn it off. And pick up a book and read, or get out and see a museum or a house.
Have a conversation, an actual voice conversation. Share your information, share your knowledge.
You know what? When I'm down the pub, you start talking to various people and, you know, things.
Oh, she just went all Essex there, everybody went down the pub.
When you go down to a pub, you know, and you start talking to people, you meet new people and you're talking to them and stuff like that. You know what? I've had some really, really deep conversations, but come out of somebody random in a pub that you meet, and then you never see them again, but you've had that really deep conversation. Yeah. And that is because people are talking to people. Talk to people. That's all it takes.
In all fairness, though, I'm not being funny, but when I go down the pub, then...
Down to pub, love.
I think a lot of people may think that I am actually the demon.
Yeah, that's towards the end of the evening. The earlier part of the evening, you're quite sociable, really.
No, especially after a few gins, you just never know what's going to come out of my mouth.
And you surprise yourself actually in those moments, because believe it or not, it's amazing how loose people's tongues become when they've had a few to drink, right?
Oh, I'm bad enough sober.
Oh, yeah, this is true, Gemma.
Bad enough sober. Honestly, it's not good. Well, and on that note, Kerry, we are right out of time. So how weird is this? But thank you for joining me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
I know, right? I'll speak to you in about 2 minutes.
No problem.
No, seriously. Thank you so much. And keep up with the blogs because I'm loving it. I'm loving the information. And I think it needed to be done. And, well, thank you for letting the old uncomfortableness of questions being thrown at you.
It's over now. It's fine. You can relax
Well,
again.
that bad. It was quite pain-free, in all fairness.
It was very pain-free.
It was just us chatting with Paul.
The chat room.
The chat room. Yeah, how distracting is that? Anyway, from me, thank you so much. And I know Jo would have loved to have been here tonight, but unfortunately she's not. So next week, I think Jo's back.
Okay.
So, Kerry, how can people find our shows?
They can go over to YouTube, and while you're over there, click like, share and subscribe. There is our whole back catalogue of shows on YouTube. So check out Parasearch Radio and archive Parasearch for the whole back catalogue. That will give you about 3 years worth of shows, Gem?
Yeah, it's got to be at least.
About 3 years worth of shows over there. Plenty of information, topics, fun and frolics. That's a new saying now. I like that.
I know, right?
Write that bit down.
Oh, she's getting a notepad out, everyone. She's getting a notepad. Well, from me, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for being so interactive in the chat room, Mr. Paul Rook. And on that note, I will see you all next week.
Thank you for listening.
Bye, Kerry.
Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.